Jessica Alstrom, spiritual teacher, medical intuitive, and quantum integration specialist, answers your spiritual questions and assists you through understanding your personal process while providing tools and techniques to move swiftly through the journey back to light.
Hello and welcome to the Transcendence Podcast. This is your host, Jessica Alstrom, and I am doing a podcast this morning about intention. Intention is going to be, it's always been, but especially in the coming next few years, everything we do as a collective species will be about acting on and following our intentions that we're setting. And for any of you guys out there who are, working hard to develop your intentions around the new moon or the full moon, or, you have your rituals and you have your patterns, that's fantastic. But what intention actually is it's a decision. And we know that when we decide something, the next thing we actually have to do is we have to act on it. And that is where most people fail. Because, they say, I'm setting the intention to, take good care of my body. And they make that intention and they make that decision and they set up that energy to basically now move into the direction of aligning that particular outcome in reality to manifest. And then they don't act on it. And so in my TICA Academy, and TICA stands for Transcendence International Consciousness Academy, we are developing a ton of different workshops, certifications, and basically just a lot of conscious spiritual development curriculum of all sorts. And the curriculum is channeled through the times which we live. So it's not old paradigm information. It's not, philosophy. It is like moment by moment, what's happening in the pulse of the now moment that's coming through me and the other teachers here to basically help you facilitate great change and movement in your lives. And so I felt it was important to do this podcast because I'm getting ready to release a online in-house, which means you can do it in, online or in-house, a acting on your intention workshop. And as I take you through this podcast this morning, you'll start to really see the importance of basically walking your talk, because setting an intention with the idea of formulating a decision, then there's going to be action required from you. If you set an intention to move and you make a decision and, you sell your house, you're going to have to take action and move. And so it's not one of these things where we really have the opportunity to be wishy-washy anymore with our intentions, because what's happening is that when we don't honor our own intentions, we're faced with a pretty good lesson. And the lesson is literally like you having to choose regardless if you're ready to choose. It's one of those situations where you might have been, hating your job for 4 years and constantly setting intentions to walk away from it. And, you're not moving the energy, although in your mind, you're emotionally done. You haven't physically taken the steps to be done. What happens is the universe will start calling your bluff, and the universe will start basically reorganizing your life because you've put so much energy behind it that it's now like a dam that's about to break. And what usually happens is you get blindsided. You walk into work one day and you're fired, and you're like, your ego is traumatized because it wasn't necessarily your choice in that moment, your conscious choice to walk away, but it's always been your subconscious. And so the universe will remove you from the things or push you into the things that you're asking for. If you're asking for happiness, the universe is going to push you into all the things that make you unhappy so that you can see exactly where you're vibrating. And so if we can do, for the next 45 minutes, really go into the importance of acting on your intuition, then maybe some of you guys will start to have to, have to endure less physical blind-sided lessons and move more into the direction of deliberate creator of your reality, which means that you set an intention, you decide, and you move forward. And as you move forward, you're ready for whatever shows up. Because we know that when we get in the car and intend to go on a road trip, we are intending to, have obstacles and challenges on the way where we know there's going to be other drivers. We know there's going to be situations that are going to come, and we can't necessarily plan for those things. We just know that our destination is set and we are moving into the direction of our destination. And the ego will overthink all of the things that will happen on the way. And what about if I get caught in a storm? And what if I run into crazy drivers? And what if I run out of gas? And what if my car breaks down? And what if I lose all my money? And before you've even gotten in your car, your overthinking logic has basically made it unsafe for you to move into your destination. And this is what happens every single day when you wake up and you set an intention about how your day is going to look, and then you sabotage it by thinking about what if, what could be, what could happen, what could go wrong, and it's, again, self-sabotage is all about survival. We think self-sabotage is this bad thing, but every time you've self-sabotaged yourself, it is coming from a belief that is trying to keep you safe. And, it's like perfect example of this is you want to get, a healthy body, and say you're carrying, 30, 60 pounds, and you set an intention to get to the gym, and, every morning something comes up, the dog makes a mess and knocks over the trash and cuts into your gym time, or the kids are sick or something, or you just don't feel like it, or you forget the time, or you oversleep. These are all self-generated, basically sabotaging energy cycles that keep you from losing the weight, losing and moving into health. And why would we want to stay unhealthy and sick? Well, for several reasons. If we go back to analyzing survival issues, weight is about security and protection. It's about, creating invisibility. It's about hiding. It's about not feeling seen and heard. It's about, a lack of self-love. It's a lack of self-trust. It's a lack of self-mindfulness. And so those things have kept you safe because they've kept you from being present in the traumas that are vibrating right at the surface. And so your body loves you so much that it wants to keep you safe by basically keeping the body unhealthy. And it is all about belief systems. And so sabotage comes from safety issues, or, humiliation in the timeline where, what if I go to the gym and everybody laughs at me? So I'm saving myself from the humiliation. I'm saving myself from being seen and noticed. I'm saving myself from being afraid. I'm saving myself. So you can see that underneath your sabotage is always a survival situation. Because what you're doing in the moment that is a disrepresentation of your true intention is coming from a survival issue. Okay? All things. Your addictions, your procrastinations, your lack of motivations, all of these things are about you keeping yourself stuck so that you don't have to grow and be uncomfortable, because when you tried to grow as a child, or you tried to expand as a child, or tried to be, authentic as a child, or tried to raise your vibration as a child, you were shot down. So the body stays in the remembrance of the trauma and does everything that it possibly can with ego's assistance, because ego is your mortal version of you. It is the wounded child within you, and it will help your conscious level sabotage its own growth. So we want to bypass that. We want to get back in the intention state, which is always coming from higher self. It is always coming from the bigger, unlimited version of you. And when you set an intention, there's usually quite a bit of power behind it. Say you're setting intention because you're just sick and tired of something, and you're like, that's it, I'm just done. And, then you start to move into the direction of that. And if you're if you're in alignment with higher self, whatever challenges you meet are just part of your movement. It is just part of it. When you move into your dream home, it's still really messy and uncomfortable to move all the boxes in and clean and set up. And there's always going to be challenges for you arriving at your destination. And that's just part of it. But if we anticipate all of the heaviness and the problems and the worry and the stress, then we never move. So I've decided to do this workshop that teaches you at a cellular level, at a physical level, at a chemical level, and a spiritual level how to honor your own intentions through action. because, I have a background, basically kind of was raised in the Hollywood energy. And so I was around film and scripts and actors and, movie houses since I was a child. And just watching how everything was put together to deliver one tiny little scene is pretty magnificent if you've ever been, behind the scenes of anything. And so much has to go into creating that one scene that your head would spin. I mean, 13 hours in hair and makeup to have, a 2-minute scene in a movie is usually what it takes. And ego does not have patience for that. And you don't actually have to do that, because a lot of your behind the scenes stuff that's going on with your law of attraction, energy, and your intention is something that the universe is working on. And you're just having to show up. In Hollywood, we call it hurry up and wait, because, you get in character and you get your makeup on and you get your, clothes on and you get the set ready, and then you wait. And you wait for basically the crew and everybody to do the lighting and to bring in the other actors and to wait for the, weather to be correct. And you're literally on set waiting to step out on stage. And this is exactly how the universe works, because it's really virtual reality. It's really like a movie. And you are the leading role, hopefully, of your own movie. And if you're not, by the time you're done with this workshop, or even by the time you're done with this podcast, you will understand more about the power of acting on your intuition. And so the way that I describe, all of my teaching is that whatever character you are acting as in the moment is what law of attraction is responding to. And I have podcasts on this. So please, feel free to go and investigate those, where I really dive into, how and when and how, like the development of your character and who gave you your initial script, and at any given moment you can change the script. And based on what level of a victim your character plays, is your character the drama queen? Is your character the underdog? Is your character the rescuer, the doormat, the healer, the empath that's too sensitive, the one that no one understands, the misfit? Well, if that is how you see yourself, okay, then that's how the universe sees you. And it's not really how everyone else sees you, because everyone is just a shattered fractal reflection of you anyways. So really what matters is how you see yourself. And ego has several tricks when it sees itself, because ego is the distorted mirror. It's kind of like that circus mirror when you stand in front of it and you look kind of wiggly and wobbly and wide. And that's how ego is projecting itself. And it's basically like ego's reflection of itself is everybody's view of that energy since the beginning of time. So it's a misconstrued idea of itself. And so when ego focuses on self, usually what you'll notice is that at the same time you are arrogant, you are also extremely insecure. So there's always like several layers to how the ego identifies with itself. And what I've noticed is when we move into a trauma, an emotional trauma, and the emotional traumas basically that are deep rooted into the whole energy bodies are humiliation, guilt, shame, fear, and resentment. And when there's a trauma like that vibrating at the cellular level, the ego goes into protection of that trauma. So humiliation, a lot of times, and I've seen this a lot with masculine energy, when a man is humiliated, he will actually turn it into arrogance and puff himself up to protect himself. So he could be really humiliated and then turn it into complete arrogance to protect his humiliation. And what he's feeling underneath is completely humiliated, but that feels weak to him, so he'll project an arrogance. So you've probably met somebody who is very arrogant, but you knew that they were insecure underneath. Fear can project itself in the total victim energy or the total perpetrator energy. Someone who's coming at you in fear is in constant protection of their self. Their survival is at risk, which means the words that come out of your mouth are war to them. And they don't even know consciously that they're reacting in that way, because fear is a really, really, it's a low vibration where when you're in fear, you are not conscious. So you're just operating at the primal survival instincts, and you are trying to protect yourself from others. So you're going to take everything they say out of alignment. You're going to, every time they cut you off, it's going to be a personal attack on you. Everything everyone does is going to be a personal attack on you when you're vibrating a fear trauma in your timeline. Shame and guilt, the way you protect yourself in shame and guilt is you overcompensate, you over-nurture, you overstimulate, you have a tendency to want to take care of everyone. You want to basically buy the love or deliver the love because you feel guilt and shame. So you're always trying to balance yourself out with power. So I feel guilty, so that I'm going to give you all of my money, or I feel shameful, so I'm going to give myself to you. And it's the opposite. Again, it's the distorted mirror of ego that represents how you're behaving. And if you want to know where your ego is vibrating, all you have to do is look at your behavior. And as you look at your behavior, you'll know that in the same moment that you feel really confident, you also feel really insecure. And in the same moment that you feel scared, you also feel like, you want to run away and take your power back somehow. So there's always going to be those two dual emotions that are going on because we're still working through duality. And as we work through duality, what we're doing is we're actually becoming conscious that we are in duality. And as we move away from non-duality and we move into neutral energy, this is all, again, moving us into a neutral state where we can be an idle character ready to play any particular role that we choose, set the intention, and then act as if. And so I hope this is making sense because, the reason why your intentions are not manifesting have nothing to do with the universe. The reason why your intentions are not manifesting for you, or you're setting an intention and the exact opposite is manifesting for you, is because you're not acting as the new character. You're telling the universe that you are this particular character. And you're saying, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. Yet your behavior is your old character, the one that was pushed around and unseen and unheard and unloved and unnurtured. And so that's actually your real character. So what we got to do is we have to learn, just like actors do, to become the version of ourselves that we feel inside of our gut. The version of ourselves that we know we are when we close our eyes. The version of ourselves that we feel in our heart. Not the version of us that we feel in our, stomach where our power has been taken away, or our head where our logic is and our mom and dad's voice is, but in the underneath, the place where the urge is to help, the place where the call is coming from. That's the character that we need to learn to embody. And we need to learn to embody it in 3 ways: chemically, emotionally, and physically. Because you could have a love affair with this new emotional character your whole life and yet behave as you always have, and your life wouldn't change much. It would kind of look like potpourri. It would be a mixed bag of, moments of spectacular, power and then complete weakness in the same breath. And so what we want to do is we want to bring our frequency into its natural state of authentic self and learn to become that character that we seek within our heart, and learn teaching our body, because the biological computer is responding on who you believe you are. So you can't heal that body if you have a belief that you're not going to be able to do that. You can't heal that wound or that trauma within you if you don't believe that it's possible. And so we have to get to a place where we're almost acting, and you could call it acting, you could call it pretending, you could call it faking, because that's what actors do. They get paid millions of dollars to pretend to be something else. If that's not kind of symbolic for abundance, then I don't know what is. And we as people pay, $8 a movie ticket to watch someone pretend to be someone else. And so look at the symbology of that. So as I do this workshop, it is going to be literally what's called a method acting workshop. And method acting is all about studying a character and developing a character and becoming the character and living the character, and not breaking character until law of attraction has completely aligned body, mind, soul, a new version of that character's role. Because that's what will happen. If you're vibrating through thought, belief, and action, thought, word, deed, then the universe will respond 100% to the character that you are playing. Now, if your thoughts are in alignment with your new character, yet your language is off, which means you saying, it never works out for me, then that is going to be out of alignment with the thoughts that everything works out for me. And then your actions is not taking the job interview because, there's 20 other candidates and you don't think you have a choice. So your thoughts, your words, and your deeds are not matching up, and that's why you're not getting the outcome that you want, or that you continue to get an outcome that you don't want, because it's an either side here. And so as we go through method acting, what the principles are basically is that, let me explain this, is that someone studies a role, but instead of you receiving a script and becoming someone you're not, you're actually going to develop this character. You're going to spend time asking yourself, who would you be if money was no object? What would your life look like if you didn't have the family that you had? What would happen if you had amnesia and you woke up today and you were surrounded by total beauty and wealth? Like, what would you do moving forward from that day? And so these are all part of the workshop where we are actually developing the character. And one of the things that's really important is when you come to this particular workshop or you come online, is that one of the agreements that you make before you walk into my classroom is that you actually have no identity. I don't want you to introduce yourself. I don't want you to have a name. I don't want you to have a story. Because as soon as you start to tell your story and your name, you've activated that old character. And when you activate that old character, it's going to be the power of influence, which is going to actually now take you longer to develop your new character. And it doesn't mean that you don't have, 20, 30 traits in your old character that you'd like to bring forward. That's not the point. The point is to come in with no self. And when you come in with no self, what you're doing is you're leaving judgment of yourself behind. You're not coming into the workshop thinking, oh gosh, everyone's going to judge me because I just got divorced and I have, oh my gosh, I just scraped the money together to do this workshop and people are going to judge me and I'm not as far ahead as everybody else here spiritually, or whatever the stories that ego likes to tell you to sabotage you from moving forward. And so this particular workshop, no one has an identity except the one you create. Which means after day one of the workshop, you are living and breathing as that new character, which means when you introduce yourself, you are this version of yourself. You have, this is your career, and you're speaking as if you've been doing it for 5 years. And you're beginning to embody, your state of being begins to change. And as that happens, you start to believe you are who you say you are, and as soon as you believe, again, being the lie, as soon as you become the lie, your state of being changes, and the universe has to now reorganize your stage. It has to reorganize the movie. It went from a horror movie to a romantic comedy in one day as soon as you set an intention. And when we set this intention and develop this character, we don't break character, which means that all actions, all words, and all language are in representation of this character. I mean, I even went as far as to change my name and move, 2,000 miles away so that I could literally get a fresh perspective. And I know that not everybody can do that, but everybody can do this workshop, and everybody can spend a few days totally living and breathing as this new version of themselves, because it really does take about 3 days for the mind, body, and soul to totally integrate a new concept and integrate it all the way down into a cellular level and start giving the cells new commands of who you are, which means that we're going to be implementing epigenetics into this workshop. We're going to be implementing the laws of reflection and the attraction and the law of change and all of these things. Basically, we're going to incorporate the 12 laws of the universe into this 3-part workshop that will take you all the way into vibrating at a total cellular, emotional, chemical, etherical level for you to now believe and become who you say you are. And it doesn't matter what people think, because you're just practicing, which means I'm going to acting class. And when I come home, my homework is to basically be this character. And it's the power of acting on intention. Because once we set the intention, the universe is in motion, whether you can see it or not. And it is waiting for your next command, which is your next action. What food are you putting in your body? What conversation are you having with your mother? These are all very, very significant, energetic frequencies that the universe is watching to see if you are really changing. And once the character changes, we have to move through the challenges of having to basically break down an old reality and give you a new reality, and what you choose to experience by doing that, by rising above your old self, by, letting the sabotaging feelings come up and saying, this character actually isn't sabotaged by this, because this character's been doing this for 5 years already. And these are also incorporating the 7 laws of manifestation, which is acting as if. And once you act as if, the universe says, oh, wow, she's totally changed her character, and now I've got to change everybody in her movie for this to make sense, because it's virtual reality. So if I change my character, then everyone around me has to treat me differently. That means everything around me has to happen differently. That means people, places, circumstances, and events and opportunities have to be delivered differently, because my character would receive them differently. My character would expect them differently. My character would deserve them better or differently. So I hope this is making sense, because this is something that I'm really passionate about. And this has been, my greatest illusion in moving forward and becoming something that, if you knew me as a child and then you knew me today, it would be a total change in character. It's going from the underdog to someone who is, basically fearless, because I decided that I wanted my character to be fearless and to not judge herself, which means that she was allowed to try on many, many different things before she decided who she was, because who she was stolen from her very early. So whatever your script details are about yourself, we integrate that into your character, and we hold you and your support system hold you accountable for this character role, which means that once you develop your new character, you don't break character. And that may mean you need to not surround yourself with certain people during the workshop, because again, those power of influences are going to basically pull that old character out of you. And so what we do is step by step by step by step of ways for you not to feel your old character from the moment you start the workshop. And there's so many subtle things. We use the 5 senses because, believe it or not, your 5 senses are totally attuned to who you've been. Your brain is totally familiar with who you've been. And it's so familiar with who you've been that it can anticipate your actions and reactions 10 minutes to an hour ahead of when you do them. Which means that in this now moment, you could make an intention that you're going to go home and you're going to eat a really healthy dinner. Your brain knows otherwise. Your brain knows that you're stressed out, and how you deal with stress is by eating a big fatty carbohydrate meal. And that's how your brain body deals with stress. It also knows that you're going to watch TV when you get home, even though you set the intention that you're going to eat a really healthy dinner and then go for a walk. But your brain is totally in tune with the old character because of neural pathways. And you've heard me talk about brain tap, and you've heard me talk about brain reentrainment. And we've got to work on retraining that brain patterning, because the mindsets of your brain are from the character that you've been playing your whole life. And that's why willpower is so difficult, because you need willpower to overcome the character that's programmed at your hard drive level. So what we're doing basically is we're reprogramming your hard drive. And we do this all incorporated into this acting workshop, this intention workshop, so that no level is untouched in the development of this character. And if we do it properly, it's not willpower, which means that it's playful, it's fun, it's pretending, it's idealistic, it's expansive, it's creative. And you never once feel like this is hard work, because all you're doing is practicing the version of yourself that you've been all along, supported by people who don't want to know anything about your past or where you've been or your story or anything like that. They want to know who you are now. They want to know who you are in this now moment. And they want to hold you accountable and ask you all kinds of questions about where you are going and what you're developing and what you're doing and what are your hobbies and what's your favorite colors and all of these things. And there's drills that we'll do back and forth with each other to keep that story going. And so the character role of parallel realities, the character role of manifestation, the character role of getting everything you've ever wanted is the most important thing you could fine-tune on the planet. Because life is a game. Life is a movie. You're here to play. You were not ever born to struggle. You are not here to suffer. You are here to create. And so the best thing that you could ever create, the biggest investment that you could ever give yourself, is to move into the direction of your authentic, transparent, loving, joyful, service-based energy stream. That is what you came for. You came to defeat your own dragons within, your own sabotage within, your own fears within, your own humiliations within. And when you start this new character, you don't bring any of that in. And it is such a fresh start. And it is such a magical process, this workshop, that you will never be the same afterwards, because literally, if you understand parallel realities, as soon as you set an intention, you shift parallel realities and you begin to live in that reality. Now, whether you can hold that frequency of the elevated reality is all based on behavior. It's based on actions. So when the director says action, that is when you start becoming that character. You don't read 16 lines from your script and then all of a sudden become your old self again. The director would say cut, and you would have to go back to the beginning and you'd have to start over. And that is exactly what's happening in your reality every time you set an intention and then you counter-intend it. You have to go back. So you see those little things that say, okay, take 268. That is someone that kept forgetting their character. That is someone who was not in the present moment and acting as their higher intentions and didn't do their homework. And that's not who we're going to be during this process. I'll also be writing books about this in the future, and we've got a book coming out this winter about accelerated manifestation, both lights and dark sides of it, and how to basically move swiftly into everything you want. But I will tell you that this particular character process is the only thing you'll ever need to become everything you've ever wanted to become. So I just wanted to leave you with this quick podcast because we're going to be releasing dates for our first upcoming workshop. And anywhere in the world that you can attend. You can attend live, or you can attend through the recording curriculum, whichever you prefer. It doesn't matter if you're on a time zone issue. And if you're in the local areas or around the local areas, you can always come out for the workshop, and we can help you get lodging if we don't have space right now at the estate here. We do have space here usually, but we've got a bunch of people in town from Australia and Ireland and all over studying with us right now from Tika. And but we will, if you get in contact with us, we will definitely help get you set up, and we will be posting this workshop today on the Transcendence website under Tika, because all of our academy classes will be listed under Tika on our website, which is www.transcendencekc.com. And anybody who is interested in doing the light coaching certification under me, it is 3 months for the certification, 1 year for the mentorship, which means helping develop your business and foundations, and also mentoring through, working with your own clients. And that's a year-long spiritual development. I am actually offering scholarships right now, which is basically you get the year-long program for free, and you're just going to be paying for the 3-month certification. If you basically have a consultation with me and you fit the requirements for the scholarship, because we are looking for game changers. We are looking for messengers and spiritual teachers that we can help facilitate and integrate into our nonprofit One Foundation and the Transcendence nonprofits that we're building right now all over the world, as well as Little Giants Academy of Conscious Kids, and also facilitating change in conscious parenting curriculum and sustainable living curriculum and everything above. So reach out if you feel inspired and look for the workshop online. I'll also be posting something on Facebook. Please follow us on Facebook, Jessica Alstrom. And if you want to reach out to me personally about a story or anything that you've got, or questions about podcasts, you can reach me at jessalstrom@gmail.com, or reach out at transcendencekc at gmail. All right. I hope that this helped. I hope this little planted a seed, and I will see you all at this workshop.